Welcome to PR Powerhouse, helping female entrepreneurs to get in the press and to gain PR. I'm Jo Swan, and I'll be sharing how to harness the power of the media to boost your credibility and business visibility, no matter what stage in business you're at. Because I'm on a mission to show you that PR is not just for the big boys. In the show, you'll learn how to reach out to journalists and own your place in the press, because you are ready to become a PR powerhouse.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of PR Powerhouse for 2022. I am back, and I am sorry for anyone who missed us. I'm sorry for anyone who was hoping that we might have put some podcasts out between Christmas and New Year. But do you know what? It was just time for some time out. It was some time for a little rest, a little regroup, and a time for celebration of everything that we'd achieved, to kind of take stock and to be able to come back this year full of lots of new ideas. And I am super excited to come back to you with all of our new plans for what we are cooking up for you for this year. So I am welcoming you back with massive open arms, with a very excited vibe about what's coming, about how I can help you even more this year. So how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this year? How are you feeling about last year? Did you feel like you nailed everything you wanted to do? I know that's pretty unlikely, because we're always pretty hard on ourselves and we can always think of something else that we wish we'd have done. That was definitely the case for me. Did you feel like you went a certain way in terms of getting yourself out there, getting yourself visible? Maybe overcoming some demons, maybe overcoming some of your challenges, some of your imposter syndrome, little voices in your head that have been telling you to stop doing things. Maybe you took some of them on last year. Maybe you did really move forward and really progress. And I actually know that a lot of you who listen to this absolutely did. I know that you did really level up. I know that you really did take some risks in your mind in terms of getting yourself out there, getting yourself more visible. So I'm hoping where you sort of meet me this year is in a place where you are even more ready, because you believe in yourself that little bit more, and you believe that this is possible a little bit more. And if you don't, then you need to just go back to the beginning and work your way through those first 20 episodes, because that will get you there, I promise. So what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about planning for PR success, and we are going to welcome in 2022 with focus, and we are going to be looking at your forward focus for the year. But to do that, we are also going to be looking back a little bit at some of the previous advice that I've already given you. And for that, you know what? I'm not sorry, because it's one of those things where we need to revisit the basics. We need to make sure that we're on the same path, that we're on the same page. And the other thing is, this stuff isn't rocket science. Like, I'm not going to rock up in 2022 and tell you loads of new things that you've not heard before, but I'm hoping I'm going to find new ways to communicate with you and new ways to get you excited about what's possible and to get you actually taking some action. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about 5 ways that you can plan for your PR success. And I'm also going to share a few ideas from my mentor, Nick Pidgeon, because I've been doing some work on this myself, obviously, planning for our own success for this year. And some of Nick's words of wisdom have really stuck with me, and some of the ways that she does things has really resonated. Lots and lots of ways that she does things resonates, because she's an incredible person to follow, full of knowledge, full of vision, full of energy about really going after the goals that you want. And she's got so much fabulous content to share that she shares on her own podcast and through her own resources. So actually, I'm going to guide you towards a couple of things that I've found in Nick's world that I think might be helpful to you too. So watch this space for that. Okay, so let's dive in. Number 1, the first thing I want you to think about is around your business goals. So number 1, start with your business goals, because PR shouldn't be something that's done in isolation. It shouldn't be something that is just kind of thought of as a nice to have, as a nice little cherry on top for a bit of fun marketing. It really should be helping you work towards your business goals. So I want you to think about where you're at in terms of where you're trying to get to this year, and then think about how PR could support you in those goals. So for us, the business goals that I've got for Chocolate PR this year are all around growing our audience so that we can reach more people, so that we can have more impact with the work that we do, because we do amazing work, and I just want that to be celebrated more, not from an egotistical point of view, but because I truly believe that the work that we're doing is just scratching the surface, and there's so many more people out there that we can help with the content that we've already created, with the systems that we've already got, with the programs that we already run. So a massive part of our goal is to grow our audience so that we can really make more impact and we can see more women be more heard. We can literally be an influence that helps more women have more of a voice in the media. So that's one of our goals. And one of the next goals that we have feeds that goal, basically. So our next goal is to grow expert status this year. So I am going to get that book out that I've been procrastinating about for the past 2 years. And growing my expert status is a huge part of my goals for business this year, because the more that I become recognized as someone who is an expert in this space, who is leading conversations, then the more I'm going to be able to grow my audience, the more we're going to be able to help more people. Okay, and the third thing that is really important to us this year is to showcase our values. And this actually comes down to how we want to differentiate ourselves in this space. Because, okay, let's be honest, we're not the only agency, we're not the only team of people who help female entrepreneurs get themselves in the media. But I do believe we've got a very distinctive character to our brand, a very distinctive way that we do things, a very individual way that we show up. So it's really important to me to showcase our values so that we can attract our absolute dream clients, so that everyone is working in more ease and flow, so that there's much more alignment, and that we are really stamping our authority in our own way. We're creating a place for us and a space for us without having to try and fit in, with actually just being. Just literally being how we are, and bringing those characters of our team to life. So those are some of our kind of core business goals. Now, one of the ways that I really focused in on this was I used one of Nick Pigeon's tools. And she's got a fabulous tool when it comes to goal planning called the Hope Plan. Now, the Hope Plan is a positive psychology tool, and it's something Nick has used personally in her own life and business, and something that she now shares with her clients as a way to try and sort of guide you to really laser focus in on what it is that matters. And one of the ways that she recommends that we sort of try and plan our goals is in 90-day stretches, so that we can sprint towards them, so that they don't feel like they're a million miles off. If we're trying to make goals for the year, actually that can seem a little bit overwhelming. So if you think about, right, well, what are your 90-day goals? So for us, in those 3 areas, we have got 90-day goals based around growing our audience, growing our expert status, and showcasing our values. And it almost just breaks it down into a really, really simple to-do list. And then it's a case of, well, why would I not do that? These are just the steps that I've got to take. So that's a really powerful place to start. But one of the things that I love about the Hope Map is that actually what it does is it challenges you on what might stop you from achieving those things. So when you're looking at your business goals, I would really encourage you to take a look at this tool, and I'll pop a link in the show notes so that you can grab it. And the thing that I found the most interesting about this was the way that Nick gets you to tackle any obstacles that could get in your way of achieving these goals or taking these actions. So she asks you to identify your goal. She also then asks you to identify your why, because that is important. You have got to connect to the point of why that is a goal, of why that's important to you in your business. So it's great to just have that chance to sort of reflect back on that and to connect that back to your goal and write it down. But then she asks you to tackle the obstacles that might get in your way. And I think this is super important because you need to be aware of what's going to be the obstacle, of what's going to be that wall that comes up against you when you are really, really focused on achieving this thing and you're totally down with it. And then for some reason it doesn't happen. Sometimes we don't really stop to think, well, why didn't it happen? What was the thing that got in our way? Was it the fact that we didn't have enough information and knowledge on how to actually do this thing? Was it the fact that actually it was our mind monkeys that were stopping us and subconsciously we were never going to do it? Was it actually we've got challenges in the business that didn't enable us to do it? What were the things that were the real problem? So I want you to think back, if you had goals for your visibility last year and you didn't do it, what were the things that actually did stop you? And be really honest about that as well, because there's no point in tricking yourself. There's no point in not telling yourself the truth about actually why some of those things perhaps didn't happen and making excuses for it. We just want to really know what those blocks were. One of the other elements in the Hope Map is to look at something that Nick calls obstacle pathways, which is all around actually creating a pathway that can help you overcome that obstacle. So that's a really practical way of actually looking at how to tackle anything that is getting in your way and that is stopping you. And the other important thing that she asks you to think about are support systems. So what do you actually need to help you reach these goals? And again, just be really, really honest and open with yourself about the fact that you might need a bit of support. That could be practical support. It could be that you need to learn certain stuff. It could be that you need to get hold of certain templates to enable you to take some action. It could be that actually you need to do a bit of mindset work to get yourself in a place where you are a bit more ready. Or it could just be a resources issue that you need to free up some time by getting people to do other stuff so that you can focus on this side of the business. So number one, where we're starting today is we're looking at what are your goals for the year, but let's break that down and look at what are your goals for the first 90 days. And I would really encourage you to have a little look at the way that Nick talks about the Hope Map, so that might just give you a little bit of focus and structure and direction of how to get kicked off with that first element. Okay, so let's move on to the second point. So the second element of how you're going to plan for your PR success for this year is looking at what your PR message is. Now, we all do lots of things in our business. We all have lots and lots of different things that we can offer. But it's important when you're doing PR to really double down on something. So my challenge to you is, what are you going to double down on this year? Because one of the really powerful elements of PR is when you repeat your message and you are consistent with that message. Consistency is absolutely king, and repetition is like gold dust, because once you become recognized for something, then you become that go-to person for that subject area. And repetition is how you achieve that, because you've got to keep showing up for the same thing again and again and again for people to understand, for the penny to drop that that is the thing that you are known for, that is the thing that you are an expert in. And a lot of people resist doing this because they feel like, well, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I don't want to put myself in a box. I offer so much. I'm not someone that can only offer one thing. And I get that. But what I'm saying to you is that the power of PR is when you are consistent and when you do become recognized for one topic. Now, that topic can have lots of subtopics, but you need to have an umbrella topic that you are recognized for. And you want to drill down as kind of specifically as you can for this. So one of the things that is really important to us when I look back at how we're going to showcase our values is how we champion and we cheerlead other women in business. That's like a massive strand of our PR message. And this year we're particularly focusing on the idea of celebration, the idea of celebrating other women, the idea of celebrating knowledge and experience, the idea of celebrating people's journeys and stories for the greater good, for the good of others, so that other people can learn and can build and can develop from those experiences. So, to give you an example of some of the content that we might put out this year, it might be around something like why celebrating your rise is essential. Because actually it will help guide other female entrepreneurs. So you could be the guiding star for other people who might be struggling or might not have quite found their feet yet. Another type of content we might put out is something around why PR is not ego-driven and why it's actually service-driven. So get this message across that celebrating you and showcasing your story is important, not for your own ego, but it's a service to others because they need to learn from that information. So the types of content that we're going to be putting out this year is going to be all around this idea of really encouraging other women to celebrate themselves and the importance of being a champion and a cheerleader for others. So I challenge you to think, what is your message for this year? What is your PR message for this year? What do you really want to say? What do you really want to evoke? What kind of emotion do you want to evoke with your content? And kind of what is the point of your PR this year? Is there something that you want to make a change around? Is there something that you need to see happen in your industry? Is there just a message that you feel is important to be getting out there consistently to help support your audience? So what is it that you actually are wanting to say? Really have a think about that. Okay, so moving on. Point number 3 in how to generate PR success this year. Think about what are your PR routes. Now, we've talked about this before. We've talked about this lots of times before in terms of understanding that PR opportunities come from more than just one place. So it's not just a one-hit wonder PR. There are so many ways that you can get consistent PR. There's so many ways that you can tap into your specific circumstances to create PR opportunities. So what you need to think about is what PR you are going to do and where you are going to do it. So let's have a little recap in terms of some of the different types of PR that you could consider. So let's start with the one that most people think PR is all around, which is your story. And that is absolutely a huge, huge part of PR and a huge part of creating PR opportunities. So if you haven't yet told your story in the media, then this is certainly a place that you could consider starting. Because when you tell your story, you showcase your journey and you inspire and you motivate other people to believe that actually success is possible and that coming through something is possible. You also really connect with your audience in terms of explaining why you're doing what you're doing and sort of bringing your mission to life. So sharing your story is absolutely a brilliant PR route. And if you haven't done it, then it is an opportunity. What I would say about this is think about what parts of your story you want to share. Go back to the question about what values you want to communicate this year and think about what parts of your story make sense. So we don't need to tell your entire life story. What we need to do is highlight the parts of your story that make sense to the values you are trying to communicate, that make sense to explaining why you're doing what you're doing in business right now and why you have this mission. Now, when you are clear on that, when you're clear on what part of your story you need to share, then you can go out and you can find places that fits. So if your story is around, maybe the change that you felt when you became a parent and the inflexibility of the corporate world and how you wanted the freedom and kind of, more life control from being an entrepreneur, then you might look at titles that are focused around working mums. You might look around titles that are focused around being a parent. You might look around titles such as family-friendly working, for example, which do fabulous profiles of mums in business. Things like We Are the City, which do incredible profiles for inspirational women. So you might look at things like that if that is your focus. If actually your story is more around really being an expert in a certain space and your journey shows that you've really kind of climbed up the ladder, perhaps in the corporate world, and now you're off doing it for yourself and you're really at a very high level already of expertise, then you might want to be going for more of a profile piece, and the story might be more around that career ladder. Obviously, there'll be bits of your personal journey in there, but it might be more around that rise as a leader. And if you're doing that, then you might want to look at profile opportunities on things like authority, which are fabulous and which showcase kind of leading figures in certain industries. So your PR route could be your story. It could be quite real life focused. It could be quite profile focused if that's not something that you've explored. Okay, so if the story is something that you already have explored, or if it's something that you're not ready to explore, or if there's some reasons why perhaps you can't tell parts of your story at the moment due to other people being involved or legalities, then the next thing that we say to look at is look at knowledge sharing. So look at what you can share from your head all of the stuff that you know that you could share to help inspire and guide others. So this is tips-based content. This is knowledge sharing content. This is tips and advice. It's more blog style writing where you are going to take a topic and you are going to literally help someone understand how to do that thing. Now, this is a fabulous way of really creating authority. It's a fabulous way of getting recognized as an expert in your space. So to be fair, I would recommend that you did this alongside, even if you did the story work, that you also did this as another strand to your PR, because this is a really powerful one in terms of really getting recognized as an authority in that space. Now, you can do this in loads of different routes, but our favourite places to really get traction on knowledge sharing stuff is on things like Thrive Global and Medium, because the content that they put out is so strong in terms of the amount of information that they allow you to put in each post, how they sort of guide you in terms of the writing guidelines. The editorial guidelines is quite strict, so it leads itself to a really strong piece. And they're very, very credible sites. So to actually appear on those sites naturally really elevates you as an expert because they're super, super credible sites. So that's something that you can have a look at as well as a different PR route. And the last one that I want to mention, there are millions of PR routes and there's lots of other things that sort of sit under PR, such like events and awards and collaborations and campaigns, and there's all sorts of other elements to PR that you could consider. But we're sticking with more sort of pure media right now. So the last one that I want to talk about is newsjacking. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about this before, but this is where you actually attach your PR to something that is very real time, to something that's happening right now, that's out there in the news. So your PR route could be, depending on what sort of subject area you cover, it could be that actually your focus is going to be keeping your eye on the news every single week to see what are the topics that are coming out and what you can say about that. So this works particularly well if you're in anything to do with health and well-being, because there's always new stuff coming out in terms of new reports or new statistics or new things that celebrities are trying that make it into the news. And then that gives you an opportunity to join that conversation and to share your knowledge and your advice. So this is really a strategy that only works if you have the time to put into it and you have the time to be consistent with it. So like I said, it should be something that if you decide to go down this route, you need to be looking at every single week. And you need to be getting in touch with either your local media. Radio is fabulous for this because they really often talk about much wider sort of national issues, things that are going on in society. So if you then tapped into your local radio, which is a really easy place to start, they want to have those bigger conversations, but they want to have it with someone local to them. So local radio is a great way of tapping into newsjacking, to be able to go in and offer your advice, your expertise, your opinion, some tips that ties into something that is very topical that's being spoken about right now. So newsjacking is, I suppose it's a slightly more elevated type of PR because you kind of need to really be tuned in to understanding what those PR hooks and angles are. But if you're ready, if you are at a point where you get PR and actually you want to sort of speed up the process and you want to up level the type of PR that you're doing, newsjacking is a really fabulous way of elevating yourself. And what can happen is even if you start at a local level, that can then snowball and ripple effect to get yourself on national radio, which we have seen happen. Even national TV has come on the back of someone just making a few comments on local radio about something that's been in the news. So that's a real door opener to some bigger opportunities. One of the things that you could do if you're a bit more of a planner and you don't like being so reactive is to see what's coming out in your industry. So if there's certain reports that you're expecting that's going to come out at a certain time of year, there's always some sort of statistics that get reported at a certain time of year. Make sure you're really aware of those and tap into the timely opportunities of those and sort of put that as a date in your diary to really be proactive around your subject area. So there are ways that you can kind of tap into it from a bit more of a forward planning point of view if you don't like the reactive stuff so much. Okay, tip number 4, get PR ready. Now, this is no surprise. If you are going to go out there, if you are going to explore all your different PR routes, if you're going to try and get your message out there, All of that is all well and good, but you're going to fall flat on your face if you're not PR ready, because the media need a certain level of preparedness, if that's a word. They need a certain level of confidence in you that you are press ready. So you know that I've talked to you about this a lot over the past few episodes, and it's coming back up today because it is so crucial. You don't want to go out making introductions to yourself with leading journalists when you've got nothing to back it up. So you need to get press ready. So what are the things that help you get press ready? Well, obviously, your media bio is one big part of the jigsaw. Once you have your media bio, you're in a place where you can very easily, very quickly communicate with the journalist what you're about, what your story is, what your mission is, why you're credible, why they should listen to you. So media bio, absolutely essential in terms of getting yourself prepared. Now, we do have a link to getting yourself up and going with your media bio. We have some guidance in terms of how to get off the ground with that. So I will pop the link in the show notes. The other thing that you can do to get yourself press ready is to create something like a press release. So if you've got something very specific to announce, to celebrate, to get across, then we all know that a press release is still a very good way of communicating. We've got an episode in here that's all around why the press release is not dead. So the press release is still a super powerful way of communicating a very certain message. If you've got something that's a bit more newsy focused, if you've got something that is an announcement, then absolutely that should come in that form. I've mentioned to you knowledge sharing and tips and advice type content. Now that needs to be written more as a blog style. So if you are trying to pitch tips and advice content, I would advise that you write it. So it's all very well going to them and saying, I could write you top 10 tips on this. If you've not actually written that piece, then you're not necessarily going to know the strong things to pull out when you're trying to pitch it. So I always find that if you write the piece, then it becomes a much stronger pitch where you can then pull out the key points of the article when you're doing that pitch, and also helps you think about some of the most powerful headlines that might really attract their attention. So if you're going down the knowledge sharing route, put a bit of time in to actually create some of that content. And then from a reactive point of view, if you're going to go down the newsjacking point of view, what you need to think about there is really what your stance is on stuff. So if you are going to newsjack and you're going to jump in on something that's being talked about, what is your unique point of view on that? Because they're not going to be interested if you have just got a very vanilla opinion on something. So really think about where you could add colour, character, value through your reactive comments, through your newsjacking, and think about how that connects back to your values. So maybe trial this with something that's in the news right now that is relative to your subject area. Think about what your quote would be in response to that situation. What would you actually say? And just practice actually having an opinion. And I know that sounds really random, but sometimes we don't dare to have strong opinions. Sometimes we really don't dare to actually stand up for what we believe in, and we get so used to kind of dumbing down what we say and making it too vanilla and agreeing with everybody and trying to be too politically correct. And that's not what we want from a PR perspective. We want you to stand out with a really strong opinion and really strong direction of your message. So if you're thinking about going down that route, then I would really encourage you to just start practicing actually creating some quotes in response to some of the stuff that's out there and see how it comes out, and then to see whether you think that's strong enough, or actually challenge yourself to think, is this what I really believe, or is this what I feel like I should say? And that's a really interesting. So before we jump straight into the final point of today's podcast, point number 5, I want to just talk to you a little bit about support. So when Nick flags up in her hope map the obstacles that could get in your way, and she asks you to think about how to reframe those obstacles and also how to put in place different pathways that are going to create the success that you want, and also identify what support systems you need in place. I want you to think about that now, very specifically from a PR point of view. What help do you need? Like, what support do you need to make these goals happen for you this year? Because we are here to help you. I'm here to help you. So the first thing that I'm going to just tell you is that we do have a free masterclass coming up on the 13th of January, 8 p.m, an hour session open to anyone who is interested in understanding how to leverage their business through PR this year. And what we're offering with this is basically a free hour of our time to guide you, to coach you, to get under the skin of what it is you want to be saying this year and how you could be doing that. So if you're feeling like, okay, I'm loving this, I'm totally down with getting some PR plans in place, but I'm still stuck on what direction to take, this might be something to jump in on. It might be something, come and join us, come and tell us what your PR plans are, and then let us help guide you to turn those into reality, to think about what they actually could look like. So don't be scared of asking for support. There is always support out there. So come and join us there. There are obviously more specific ways that we can also help you. So with the media bio, we do write media bios for people. So if you get really stuck with that, that's a service that you can tap into. If you're struggling to find the opportunities and you don't know where to go to actually get published, we've got a membership. Within there, we offer you media opportunities, loads and loads of media opportunities twice a week. People that have been all over the national media, our clients that live in that membership have been all over the national media, which is incredible to come back and start the year like that. So there's that where you could come and we could help guide you and support you and provide you with some of these opportunities. We also offer things like power hours. So if you're at a point where you just think, I just need some real expert insight into where to go with this, and I just need to run my ideas past somebody, that's something that we do. We can help you. We can just have a chat with you for an hour, and you can take, our consultancy, and then you can go off and do it yourself. That's something that is available to you. We also have online programs, as you know. The next couple that we're taking on is our mastermind, which I'm so excited about, which starts later this month. The mastermind is for people who are really ready to really own their space. So this is a 6-month incubator, I quite like to call it, where we handhold you for 6 months to really help you nail your message in so many different ways, to get that out into the media, to think about how you can collaborate with others to strengthen your message, to think about how you could win awards around this, to think about how you can run events. It's got lots of different legs to it, which is why I love it. It's about more than just media, but it's a really, really powerful way of claiming your space as an expert. So there's high level stuff like that. And then there's more immediate, sort of more specific programs that we run. So something called Dare to be Seen, which is where it's an 8-week program where we just basically teach you how to get in the press. And within those 8 weeks, you are guaranteed to get in the press. So you don't have to do this alone. There's so many ways that we can help you with so many different levels and so many different budgets to suit. So there's absolutely a way that you can get support. If you've got a gap in your knowledge and you think that that's what's holding you back, then do you know what? We are here to support you. If you've got a gap in terms of you feel like you need some accountability, we are absolutely here to support you. So it might make sense to, first of all, to get involved in that free masterclass on the 13th of January. Come and join us there and then see what feels good. The other type of support that you might need, and this is something that we do also bring to the party, is mindset work. So it might be that, do you know what? I know all this stuff. I know how to do it, but I'm not doing it. I'm stuck. And that will be the mind monkeys. That will be the imposter syndrome. And we do delve into this because one of my colleagues in the team, Jo Maloney, is actually a coach as well. And she understands all that stuff. She understands why we stop ourselves doing things. She understands all of how the brain works and how that sometimes gets in our way. So we bring elements of that in to our work, but we also work with fabulous experts who specialize in that particularly. So we work with some amazing mindset coaches. And that might be something that you also might need to explore if that's one of your blocks. Okay, so there we go. Practical stuff kind of done. Number 5, this is my favorite point of this session. Number 5 in how to really get PR success for 2022 Number 5, get excited about it and celebrate. Now, this is absolutely one of our themes for 2022. As I said at the beginning, celebrating people, showcasing success, and getting excited about your goals, getting excited about getting your message out there, getting excited about getting some PR success is going to drive you. It's going to drive you to feel good about doing it. So this is super, super important to connect really positive emotion to this activity because it makes massive, massive difference. It really will magnify the impact that you can make. And when you get excited about what you're doing, other people naturally get excited about what you're doing. If you evoke excitement and that real feeling of pride and real feeling of really having achieved something that is worth celebrating, then your audience comes with you with that. Celebration brings us together. That is a fact. And I'm coming back a little bit now to Nick Pigeon again, because she talks so much about this. And she's actually got an entire podcast episode around how celebrating your wins can help move your business forward. And I would really encourage you to go and have a little listen to that. Now, we see this all the time because when our clients celebrate their wins and when we celebrate their wins, these are some of the most high performing social media posts around. So we see a massive spike in people's engagement when they celebrate their wins because what they are doing is they're creating that connection. So this is something that Nick says. She says, use celebration to connect because it strengthens the bond between you and your audience. And we absolutely 100% see that because your audience are people that like you. They don't follow you because they don't like you. They follow you because they like you and they connect with you and they align with you and they're behind you with what you're doing. So actually, if you are showcasing yourself and celebrating yourself, that gives them something to celebrate and to shout about and to really kind of get behind you with. So celebration is a fabulous way of supercharging your results. So just think about that point there that Nick says, use celebration to connect because it strengthens the bond between you and your audience. I think that's such an interesting thing to consider. It does bring us together. It does bring people together. And that collaborative feel is super, super powerful. The other thing that celebrating helps us do is it helps us step into our vision and our goals. So I find this, that when we celebrate a certain part of our journey of getting closer to those goals, it helps you feel so much more empowered to do all the other stuff that you've got to do to reach the next step of those goals. So celebrating, again, psychologically kind of takes you much closer to where you want to get to when you celebrate each step along the way. And we all know like the power of gratitude. We all know the power of actually being grateful for what we've already achieved. But so often we ignore this. So often we just get on with the next thing and the next thing and we beat ourselves up. And I do this terribly. So I did it massively at the end of last year where we achieved so much last year, but there were still things that were a little bit out of reach and that we hadn't quite got to. And I found myself feeling frustrated and annoyed and peed off that, you know, actually I was ending the year in this place where I wasn't completely happy. And all that did was made me feel shitty. Like it just made me feel... It made me lean into all the feelings of failure and frustration. And that's not where you want to be. And it's not where I deserve to be because we had done so much other amazing stuff. We'd grown the business massively. We had supported so many more people. We'd launched some amazing initiatives. So why was I focusing on all the stuff that I hadn't done? Because that's what we do as humans. That's what we do. So I would really encourage you to not follow my path there and to instead anchor yourself in gratitude of what you have achieved and celebrate what you have achieved because that will lift you up in a much more positive mindset for the future. And that's how I've come into this year. I've come into this year really celebrating who we are, what we stand for, what we've achieved, what we're here to do, and really found a new sense of direction, of motivation, of inspiration. And I am so ready to really help more of you to claim your space this year. And for us also to really build our business this year. So if you want to explore that idea a little bit more about how getting excited about your goals and your vision and celebrating your wins can really drive your business forward, go and have a listen to Nick Pidgeon's Unstoppable podcast. And it's episode 16 that she talks about this. So that's a fabulous thing to listen to just get yourself in that right mindset. So there we go. We have covered 5 steps to PR success in 2022. And I actually don't think that those steps are naturally what you might have expected. So I think I would love to hear your feedback to let me know how you have felt about these episodes, how you feel about moving forward, and actually what your goals are. So please do come and share those with us in our PR You Can Do It free Facebook group. I would love to hear there what you're up to, or also on Instagram, feel free to tag me on Instagram at JoChockPR. I love connecting with you on there too. So I'm going to leave you there now. I'm going to leave you with a bit of time for reflection. I hope that you're going to take some action after this session, and I hope that you have been scribbling down notes, or that you're going to go back and pause me. And that's what I do when I'm listening to podcasts. I rewind it, how old school's that? I go back and I listen again to the podcast, and I stop it at key points, and I actually start to make notes and take action based on the advice that I'm getting. So I hope that this podcast starts to be that kind of resource for you so that you can actually move forward in your PR goals for 2022.
Thank you for listening to PR Powerhouse with me, Jo Swan. If you want to feel empowered and supported and excited about getting in the press, come and join us in our free community over on Facebook at PR You Can Do It. I would absolutely love to see you there so I can help you take those next steps to getting in the media.